So it's a question about using the BetterVolume indicator, which I have on my chart right here. And so Cameron would like to identify the blue bars, right? So first of all, I want to note that colors cannot be identified, right? NinjaTrader has not provided any way to identify colors. So this will demonstrate how sometimes a color can be identified from an indicator. It all depends on how well the indicator was written. And this BetterVolume, which comes from LizardTrader, these indicators are written very well, very professionally. So that's the reason why that we're able to identify the blue bars with BloodHound, is because these indicators were professionally written. All right, and then secondly, we want to be able to adjust for certain volume threshold values, right? So in other words, let's see, if I let me put my cursor there. So let's just say we want to find maybe volume above 4,000, right? Yeah, so we can see here, yeah, there, my cursor is approximately 4,000. So if we only wanted to see the volume greater than 4,000, right? And we'll demonstrate how we can isolate the higher volume bars there. Okay. Also, going back to number one here. So along with identifying the blue bars, then the signal direction is going to be determined by the following bar, right? So the following bar, if it's an up bar, then when we get a blue volume, then we wait for the next bar, and that's going to be the signal direction. So let's stretch this out here. So let's take this blue volume bar here, right? So the next bar, well, it's a doji. It's a gravestone doji, so we could consider that as a down bar. Yeah, this one over here, this is better. So this is the blue volume, and then the following bar is an up bar. So that would generate an up signal. All right, so with that, let's get BloodHound open and we'll get started. So first thing you want to do is put a file name in here. So let's hit the save as. So there we go. So now I'm going to switch over to the logic tab, and we'll start working on the logic board here. And we want to start by creating a new logic template, and let's give this a name here. All right, so anyways, that's, I guess, a good enough name for what we're doing here. So all right, so if you're going to read an indicator's color, provided the indicator gives you a way to read the color, then you're going to want to use the threshold solver when doing that. All right, so it's always going to be the threshold solver. So let's connect this in, and let's give this a name here. Okay, let me open this up a little bit more. There we go. All right, so first thing we want to do is change the indicator here to the BetterVolume. The BetterVolume comes from Lizard Indicators, or sometimes called LizardTrader. So they have two names here. So let's open up the Lizard Indicators folder, and BetterVolume is on the top here. Let's see, there you go. There's the BetterVolume. All right. And again, remember to adjust any settings so that the settings here match what you're using on the chart. So I'm just using the default setting, so I don't need to change anything here. But you might need to change the number of days in the settings. And let's see, long period. Oh yeah, there's a long period. So just make sure the settings in BloodHound match the settings you have on the chart. And then what we want is the bar type. So yeah, so that's what they call this output, right? So we have the plot. Next, let's go back to the plot, right? So the plot is the base volume, right? So that's what we see, is the volume here on the chart. right? So that's just the volume levels, or the value, right? The volume value there. And the bar type, it's a little confusing, but the bar type actually applies to the color of the volume. All right, so that's how the volume color is identified, is by this bar type. All right. Now, I only know this because I've been working with the BetterVolume for a long, long time. All right, so this indicator has been around with NinjaTrader for a very long time, more than 10 years. All right, so that's why I know this. But so normally, for you guys, right, if you come across a new indicator and you're like, how do I extract or identify a certain color from the indicator? Well, you have to go back to the programmer or the company who created the indicator. You have to go back to them and get the documentation, right? So if you go on to Lizard Indicator's website and you go to the BetterVolume web page, right, they do have documentation, and it'll explain what this bar type, output is, what it does, what it is. And it'll explain to you that each color is given a numeric value. So the yellow volume has a certain value. This bar type will equal a certain value, which, if memory serves me correct, the values range from 1 to 5, I believe, right? And I don't remember which is which, but the pink bars, they are assigned a certain value. The blue bar is a certain value, and the yellow bar is a certain value, right? And this bar type, matches the value, or matches the color there. So we're going to select this bar type output here. Okay, you'll notice it's a data series, which is different than plots. So just think of a data series as like a plot, but it's invisible. So it's a plot that can communicate from one indicator to another indicator, right? So, but you'll never see it on the chart. So let's select that. And, as I said, I don't remember offhand what the value is for the blue bars or the yellow or the pink ones. So I'm just going to have to experiment here. So what I'm going to do is, I do remember that I think the values only go up to 5, 1 through 5. So I'm going to test value 5 first and see if that works. Let's see if we get any results. And let's see. No results at all. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the values don't go up to 5. Let's see. Let's start at 1. So we know that there's a value of 1 somewhere. Right. Okay. Well, there you go. So the blue bars have been assigned a value of 1. Right. So you'll notice A, I set higher than 1. I set it to 2. Right. And that's because the way the outputs are set up, right? There's an output, that finds greater than 2, right? And of course, we don't want to identify the volume, that has a value of 2, right? We only want to, right? So we want to find the volume bars, that have been assigned 1, and only 1, not greater than 1. So that's why A has a 2 in it. So that way we can eliminate the volume that has been assigned a value of 2 or a value of 3 or a value of 4. Right? And so you'll see at 1, so we've set that to 1. So, right. And also, because volume is non-directional, right? Volume doesn't tell you where the market's going. So when you're using an indicator that's non-directional based, almost all the time, 99.9% of the time, you're going to want a long and a short output at the same time, right? So this one particular solver here, which is only identifying the blue bars, we need a long and a short output together, right? So, okay, so there we go. So there's the blue bars, and which has a value of 1. And let's just for fun here, let's see what color has been assigned a value of 2. And it looks like the yellow ones have. All right, yeah, the yellow ones. Although, not all the yellow ones have been assigned a value of 2. Let's see. Who knows? There might be a setting difference. So I'm going to check the settings of the BetterVolume on the chart. So let's say show volume. See, absolute volume. Period length is 20. Let's see, include weak signals. That's off. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go back into BloodHound and just double check, make sure my settings all match. Let's see. All days. Oh, there we go. Okay, my mistake. So, some of them are yellow and some of them are white. All right, I just wasn't paying close enough attention. So let's make them orange versus white. That way they're clearly different colors. And I'm also going to save that as a default there. Okay, there we go. So the orange ones, there we go. So we've identified the orange volume color, which is 2. Yeah, there we go, 2. And let's just check to see what color has a value of 3. And doesn't look like anything has a value of 3. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, so again, if you want to know, what colors are assigned, what value, right? You need to go back to Lizard Indicators and look up the documentation for the BetterVolume, and in there it'll tell you what the bar type number is for the different colors. So, well, actually, not the different colors, but the volume type, right? So we have Climax, churn, Climax bar, a churn bar, low volume, up close bar, down close bar, right? So you can check the name of those different types of volume bars, and see what value they equal. So, all right. So anyways, let's just put this back to the blue bars here. There we go. Yeah, so if we squeeze that up, all right, so there we go. So we can see all the blue volume bars are identified. So that's half of number 1, right? And so now we need to, that's half of number 1. So now we need to identify the next bar here. But first we need to extend this output onto the next bar. Let's stretch this out, right? Because our next part is we need to, look at the bar direction of the following bar, right? So we need to take this output and move it forward or extend it forward onto the next bar, where we're then going to look at that bar direction, right? So to do that, let's see. Actually, we can take a shortcut here. So normally you'd probably want to use a look back node, right? We could take a look back node, connect that in, and look. So now, right, the blue bar is there, but the output, right, the red and green output is on the bar forward, right, the next bar forward. So normally you might use a look back to that because we're using the displacement there, but we don't actually need an extra node. We can actually use the displacement, right, that's built into the threshold solver here, and I can just set the displacement to 1, right? So that's just a lot more convenient there. Sorry, there we go. So let me put that displacement back to 0, right? And so our output is on the blue bars, and with a displacement of 1, right, basically you're shifting the indicator's output forward 1 bar. That's, right, that's what that's what NinjaTrader's displacement does, right? So if I set that to 1, bingo. So now the output is pushed forward onto the next bar, where now we want to actually read the bar direction. And simple enough, we just grab a bar direction solver like so. All right, and that's easy enough. All down bars are red, and up bars are going to be blue or long. I'm sorry, up bars are going to be green or long. And so now we need to grab a AND node here. And once we combine those, there we go. So, right, so we had a blue volume bar here, and then the next bar was a down bar. So our output was a short output from BloodHound. All right, so the signal was a short output. And here we had a blue bar, blue volume bar here, but the next bar was an up bar, and so we now have a long output. Okay, so that completes number 1, and then number 2 would be applying a threshold value to the volume here. So yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, let's only identify when the volume is greater than 4,000, right? So we will grab another threshold solver. Let's connect that in there. All right, and we could now, in theory, the BetterVolume should actually equal the actual volume of the bar. So we could so for the input, we could just switch it over to volume, and in theory that should work. However, just to be safe, just in case, you never know if an indicator is modifying the volume's value, so just to be safe, I'm actually going to put the input type back to an indicator, and we will go in here and select the BetterVolume indicator again. This time we can just select the base volume, which is already selected there for us by default. And so now we want to put in the volume threshold level, and as I mentioned, we'll use 4,000 here. We're going to put that in twice, and then for the output we're going to use greater than 4,000, right? And again, volume doesn't tell you the direction of the market, so when you're working with volume, almost all the time you're going to want a long and a short output for that solver, right? So for this particular solver that's identifying the volume, that's 4,000 or greater, we want a long and short output, right? All right, so now we can connect this in there. All right, so the way this threshold, right, the way this volume threshold solver is set up is it's working on the signal bar, right? Now this doesn't state which bar, let's see here, actually it does. The volume threshold of each of the 3 bars, yeah, so it does. So, so we actually need to modify this so that the blue bar, right, the blue volume, and the following bar's volume both have a volume threshold greater than 4,000, right? So what we're going to do to make sure that's true is we are going to use a look back node this time. Right, so let's put that in there. Let's connect that up to the result node. Now we don't want a displacement this time, so we're going to set the displacement to 0. But we do want a look back period of 2, and we need to use the mode minimum. Let's see here. Now, right here, actually let's put a line on the chart here so we can actually see that 4,000 threshold level on the chart. Okay, so now we can see, whenever the volume gets above 4,000. You'll notice, right, this blue bar is above 4,000 on the volume, but the next bar is not. And so we don't have an output, right? If we look here, the blue bar has a volume of 4,000, and so does the next bar, and so we get an output. And then so does the next bar, so we get an output, right? So as long as we have 2 volumes where it's greater than 4,000, right, we're going to get an output from BloodHound, right? This pink one, right, there was only 1 bar that had a volume greater than 4,000, so no output there. And if we keep going down, yeah, so here we go. So we have this green bar and this red bar. Both of them had a volume, right? So we had 2 bars in a row with the volume greater than 4,000, and we get an output, right? So we have to have 2 bars in a row to get that with the volume greater than 4,000, right? And so that accomplishes the requirement there of number 2. All right, so let's get BloodHound open again so we can look at this. All right, so we took the volume threshold solver here, and then we put it into a look back node, and we set this look back node so that it only so that it identifies 2 bars, so with that minimum volume, right? So this finds a 2 bar minimum of volume that's greater than 4,000. So now we can connect that in. So obviously, yeah, we have both of those bars are greater than 4,000. So if we connect this in, there you go. The signal still remains, right? And let's kind of scroll back here. Okay, so here's a blue bar. It's greater than 4,000. And this pink bar is less than 2,000. So there's no signal there. But if we disconnect this threshold requirement, there we go, right? There's our signal without that volume threshold requirement. And same here, right? We have this long signal because the blue bar was greater than 4,000, but the following bar was not. So if we connect this in, right, then those signals get removed because the next bar doesn't meet that 4,000 volume requirement. All right, so that takes care of this first question here.